Remember when the COVID-19 pandemic hit? It was like the world tilted on its axis.
Uh-huh.
We suddenly saw how fragile our systems were. And despite all our digital connections, countries struggled to find common ground.
Yeah, it was a strange paradox, wasn't it? Peak interconnectedness alongside, well, surprising fragmentation.
Totally. What's striking about that period is how it peeled back the layers on our global society.
For sure. That initial crisis exposed not just a health emergency, but also the limitations of our, much vaunted interconnectedness.
Right. The varied responses highlighted existing tensions and the difficulty of achieving a truly unified global approach.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that's the focus of this deep dive. We're taking a close look at some powerful insights into humanity and our shared world, drawn from Fratelli Tutti, a letter Pope Francis wrote during those unsettling months of October 2020.
Right.
Our goal is to give you the essence of these ideas, the key takeaways that make you think, without overwhelming you with detail.
Think of this as navigating the core arguments of the letter. We'll be exploring this concept of societal regression, the way openness has been narrowly defined.
The fading awareness of history.
Yeah, the loss of historical consciousness, the dangers of a disposable mentality, the ongoing presence of conflict and fear.
And the impact of the pandemic itself.
Exactly. And this compelling idea of the Good Samaritan as, like, a blueprint for moving forward, for rebuilding.
Okay, let's start with this idea of regression. It feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? We tend to assume society is always progressing, but the letter points to a worrying trend. Old conflicts resurfacing.
Yeah, and the rise of really narrow, almost aggressive forms of nationalism.
What does the letter say about that? Is it just patriotism?
Well, the letter offers a more nuanced perspective. It suggests that it's not necessarily a genuine love of country, but rather a specific ideologically driven idea of national unity.
Ah, okay.
And this can lead to a self-centeredness where national interest is used to justify a neglect of broader social responsibility.
Like looking inward too much.
Precisely. A lack of concern for the well-being of others beyond national borders. The core insight here is how easily a seemingly positive sentiment can be twisted to exclude and divide.
It's like a nationalistic bunker mentality. And the letter makes a crucial point. Things like goodness, justice, and solidarity aren't achievements we lock in.
No, they need daily, active effort. We can't assume past progress guarantees a better future for everyone. You have to keep working at it.
This idea of constant effort connects with how we understand opening up, right?
It does. The letter argues that this term has been largely, you could say, co-opted by the economic world.
How so?
Well, when we talk about a country opening up, it primarily signifies opening up to foreign investment and economic interests. That's the main meaning now.
Right. It's about trade flows and markets.
Exactly.
Wow.
But the letter suggests this economic focus can actually exploit local conflicts and a disregard for the common good to promote a dominant cultural model.
So like economic integration might actually fuel social fragmentation.
That's the surprising fact it points to. It's a form of unification on a financial level that can paradoxically lead to division on social and cultural levels.
What's fascinating is that this economic globalization can contribute to a sense of individual isolation.
The communal aspects of life, that feeling of shared purpose and belonging, can weaken as market logic and individual gain become prioritized.
So while the world might feel more connected through commerce, individuals might feel increasingly alone.
It's a virtual closeness with a real-world distance, almost. And the letter argues this isn't a neutral process. This type of globalism tends to favor the already powerful.
Making vulnerable populations even more so.
Right. Consequently, political systems can become fragile, susceptible to the influence of these powerful transnational economic forces operating across borders.
Okay, so that's the economic angle. Now let's consider the idea of a fading historical consciousness. What's that about?
The letter discusses a growing tendency to lose our connection with the past, almost a desire to dismantle history and start anew. Like, history doesn't matter.
And what's a key implication of that?
One significant consequence seems to be a relentless drive for immediate consumption and a superficial individualism.
Ah, makes sense.
If we lack an understanding of the past, if we see everything as disposable, we're more likely to fall into the trap of constantly needing more and focusing solely on fleeting personal desires.
The aha moment here is how forgetting the past can fuel a shallow present.
Definitely. And the letter issues a strong warning about ideologies that actively encourage young people to disregard history and reject the wisdom of older generations.
Why would they do that?
Well, the underlying insight is that this makes individuals more susceptible to manipulation, more dependent on the promises of the ideology itself. It makes them rootless, shallow.
It's like intentionally creating a blank slate for easier control.
Pretty much. And this can lead to what the letter terms cultural colonization.
Cultural colonization.
Yeah, where nations start to abandon their own traditions and spiritual identities in favor of mimicking more dominant cultures.
And the surprising consequences.
That this cultural shift can ultimately undermine their intellectual, economic, and political autonomy. They lose something essential.
Wow. Furthermore, the letter points out how even powerful words like democracy, freedom, justice, and unity can become hollowed out or deliberately manipulated.
Yeah, used as empty slogans to justify actions and maintain power, rather than reflecting genuine underlying values.
So the takeaway is to be critically aware of how language itself can be used to obscure rather than illuminate truth.
Exactly. Which brings us to the feeling that we're lacking a plan for everyone.
Right. Instead of a shared vision for the future, the letter observes a rise in despair, exaggerated rhetoric, extremism, and intense political polarization.
The focus seems to have shifted from finding common ground to simply discrediting opposing views. It's become very adversarial.
What's particularly concerning is the increasing tendency to deny the legitimacy of others' existence or opinions.
Through ridicule, suspicion, and constant criticism, we create a toxic social environment where meaningful dialogue becomes almost impossible.
Like shouting past each other.
Totally. The energy that should be directed towards developing long-term plans for the common good is instead consumed by these aggressive marketing tactics aimed at undermining opponents.
In this kind of climate, it becomes incredibly difficult to focus on the needs of our neighbors, on those who are struggling.
Absolutely. When the primary goal is to eliminate opposition, the very idea of a comprehensive plan for the well-being of the entire human family can seem not just unrealistic, but, as the letter suggests, even like madness.
This leads to a deeply troubling concept. The throwaway world. That sounds pretty stark.
It is. The letter argues that a dangerous mentality has taken root, where certain segments of humanity appear to be considered expendable for the benefit of others.
So a shift away from recognizing the inherent worth of every individual.
That's the core insight. It's a harsh reality to confront, but when you look at how societies often treat the poor, individuals with disabilities, the unborn, or the elderly, it can feel like their lives are assigned a lower value.
This extends beyond human life.
Yeah, the letter highlights our widespread indifference to wastefulness, starting with something as fundamental as food. The surprising connection here is how our attitude towards material goods reflects a broader devaluation of life.
We also see this throwaway mentality reflected in declining birth rates, aging populations, and the isolation of the elderly.
It suggests a growing focus on individual concerns at the expense of a collective sense of responsibility.
The pandemic really brought that home, didn't it?
Tragically, yes, with instances of elderly individuals being neglected, which not only caused immense suffering, but also deprived families and communities of their wisdom.
And this isn't limited to specific groups.
No. The letter connects this discarding of others to the relentless pressure to reduce labor costs, regardless of the human cost in terms of unemployment and poverty.
And racism.
It also points to the disturbing resurgence of racism, indicating a persistent willingness to devalue and discard certain groups based on their background.
Okay, let's turn to conflict and fear. The letter observes a disturbing trend where violence and violations of human dignity are often evaluated based on what? Economic convenience.
That's the argument. What's deemed unacceptable can shift depending on whose economic interests are at stake.
So, an inconsistent approach to global crises.
Yes, resembling, as the letter suggests, a fragmented, ongoing Third World War. And the most profound loss in all this
Is our sense of fraternity.
exactly, our fundamental human inclination towards fraternity. Every instance of conflict erodes our sense of shared humanity.
And the natural response to perceived threats becomes mistrust and retreat.
Right. Retreat into our own safe spaces, creating a paradox where we seek security through division rather than genuine connection. The aha here is that fear actively undermines our innate desire for community.
It's a process of building walls, both literal and figurative.
The letter notes how long-standing fears are amplified by new technologies. We tend to dehumanize those outside our immediate circle, projecting onto them the image of the other.
This fear-driven mindset leads to increased isolation and a shrinking of our moral horizons.
And while science and technology have advanced rapidly, the letter expresses concern about a corresponding lag in our moral development.
Like we have the tools, but not the wisdom.
Kind of. This gap creates a breeding ground for frustration, isolation, desperation, and ultimately an increase in military buildup.
And we see the results. Political instability, injustice,
The unequal distribution of resources, and a troubling silence on the global stage regarding the preventable deaths of millions of children due to poverty and hunger. It's a grim picture sometimes.
reflecting on pandemics and other calamities throughout history. The COVID-19 pandemic did offer a brief moment where a sense of global community resurfaced, didn't it?
It did. There was a shared recognition of our vulnerability, the realization that no one is saved alone.
It shook some of our superficial certainties and highlighted the undeniable reality of our interconnectedness.
But the surprising element was how quickly that sense of unity seemed to dissipate for some.
Yeah. It was a stark awakening, especially given the pre-pandemic focus on economic efficiency, often at the expense of human considerations.
Right, fueled by technological advancements and an overconfidence in the market's self-regulating capabilities.
The pandemic, at least initially, forced a reconsideration of human well-being over purely financial gains for a select few.
We were confronted with the fact that many had become overly reliant on distractions, isolated in their own bubbles, and increasingly immersed in virtual realities.
Losing touch with the richness of genuine human interaction.
With what the letter calls the taste of fraternity. The pandemic, in its suffering, created an urgent need to re-examine our lifestyles, our relationships, and our understanding of what truly gives life meaning.
And the letter connects this global crisis to our fundamental approach to the world, this assumption that we are absolute masters of our own destiny and the environment around us.
It's not necessarily about divine retribution, but rather a recognition that our actions have consequences on a global scale.
The aha is understanding the pandemic as a symptom of a deeper imbalance in our relationship with reality.
However, the letter cautions against a rapid forgetting of these profound lessons. The danger is that once the immediate health crisis subsides, there's a risk of reverting to even more intense consumerism and self-centeredness.
So the hope lies in moving beyond an us versus them mentality.
Yes, and truly internalizing our interdependence, remembering the lives lost due to weakened healthcare systems, and rediscovering our need for one another.
Because if that doesn't happen, if we fail to reignite that shared commitment to community and solidarity,
Then the illusion of seamless global progress will shatter, leaving behind only emptiness and despair.
an unchecked obsession with a consumerist lifestyle, especially when unattainable for so many, can only breed further division.
And ultimately, as the letter warns, a destructive every man for himself mentality that would be far more damaging than any virus.
Okay, shifting our focus to the issue of human dignity on the borders. The letter critiques certain policies that advocate restricting migration and limiting aid, right?
Yes, often with little regard for the human lives impacted. The core tension highlighted is between national self-interest and universal human compassion.
And it's crucial to remember the complex reasons why people migrate.
Absolutely. Many are fleeing violence, persecution, environmental disasters, while others are simply seeking opportunities for a more secure and dignified future, a fundamental human aspiration.
The surprising element is often the level of desperation that compels such difficult and dangerous journeys.
Tragically, those who migrate are frequently vulnerable to exploitation by criminal networks involved in human trafficking, leading to horrific violence and abuse.
And leaving home causes fragmentation too.
Deep fragmentation, both for the individuals and the communities they leave behind. The letter rightly emphasizes the importance of also addressing the root causes of migration, affirming the right not to be forced to emigrate.
And in the countries receiving migrants, their arrival often triggers fear and anxiety.
Which is regrettably exploited for political purposes, leading to xenophobia and a rejection of those seeking refuge.
It's easy to overlook the fundamental truth that migrants possess the same inherent human dignity as anyone else.
Exactly. They should be empowered to become active contributors to their new societies. The aha is recognizing our shared humanity transcends national borders.
The letter points out the inherent contradiction in not openly denying migrants humanity while simultaneously treating them as less worthy.
For people guided by faith, this is particularly problematic as it prioritizes political expediency over fundamental dignity and the principle of loving one's neighbor.
Migration is a defining issue for the future, isn't it?
It really is. And the erosion of responsibility for our fellow human beings is a serious concern, with Europe facing a significant challenge here.
While acknowledging that feelings of unease towards large-scale migration can be a natural response.
The letter urges us to move beyond these initial reactions towards a more creative and open approach. Fear shouldn't dictate our policies to the point of intolerance and racism.
Because that ultimately diminishes our own capacity for empathy and connection.
Precisely. Now let's turn to the paradoxical nature of communication in our digital age.
Ah, yes. More connected than ever, yet maybe more divided.
That's the tension. We're witnessing a rise in closed-mindedness and intolerance, alongside a significant erosion of privacy and an increase in surveillance.
The core contradiction lies in the feeling of closeness without genuine connection.
It feels like people's lives are constantly on display online, often anonymously, leading to a decline in respect and a lack of boundaries.
We create distance physically, but dive into private details online.
Yeah, the surprising element is how this digital proximity can actually foster greater emotional distance.
The letter cautions against viewing online movements of hatred as positive expressions of solidarity, right?
Right. Instead, they often represent groups united primarily by opposition to a perceived enemy.
And the risks of digital media.
Huh.
Addiction, isolation.
Blurring the lines between the virtual and the real, ultimately hindering the development of authentic face-to-face relationships. The key takeaway is that digital connection is not a substitute for human presence.
Because so much of what makes human connection meaningful nonverbal cues, shared physical space, is absent online.
Exactly. Online relationships, lacking the gradual development of genuine friendship, can create a superficial sense of belonging while actually masking and amplifying underlying individualism.
Often manifesting as prejudice and contempt for those perceived as different, the aha is recognizing the limitations of purely virtual interactions.
Precisely. Digital connectivity alone cannot build the necessary bridges for true understanding and unity within humanity.
The letter observes how comfortable isolation, fueled by consumerism, can coexist with a constant, almost frantic online engagement.
That frequently promotes hostility, insults, and verbal aggression. The underlying insight is how easily digital spaces can become breeding grounds for negativity.
It's as if social aggression has found an unrestrained outlet through digital devices, providing fertile ground for divisive ideologies to spread.
And things that were once considered socially unacceptable can now be said with impunity, even by those in positions of power.
We also need to acknowledge the significant economic forces at play in the digital world.
Capable of subtle yet pervasive forms of control, influencing our thoughts and even our democratic processes. The surprising factor is the extent to which these platforms can shape our perceptions.
Many online platforms, whether intentionally or unintentionally, tend to create echo chambers, don't they?
They do. Reinforcing existing beliefs by connecting like-minded individuals and limiting exposure to diverse perspectives. This makes the spread of misinformation and hate speech much easier.
The letter even notes the unfortunate presence of destructive fanaticism among some religious individuals online.
Yeah. The key question is how these digital spaces, intended for connection, can so easily become sites of division.
And it really makes you wonder how this kind of online hostility aligns with the fundamental call for fraternity and mutual respect.
This leads us to the critical distinction between information and wisdom.
Ah, a big one.
True wisdom, the letter argues, arises from engaging deeply with reality. However, in our contemporary world, information can be so easily fabricated, distorted, and manipulated.
So the core challenge is discerning truth amidst this constant influx of data.
And we have this tendency in online environments to curate our own realities, to instantly block or remove anything that challenges our views.
Creating these isolated digital echo chambers.
Right. But genuine understanding and growth often come from engaging with perspectives that differ from our own, even if it's uncomfortable.
The aha is that avoiding discomfort can hinder our understanding.
The letter poignantly describes today's world as largely a deaf world, characterized by a relentless pace that hinders attentive listening and leads to constant interruptions.
We need to value listening more.
Definitely. It reminds us of the vital importance of truly hearing one another, referencing St. Francis's ability to listen to diverse voices. The key takeaway is the value of intentional, focused listening.
As silence and careful listening diminish, replaced by the incessant ping of messages.
The very foundation of meaningful human communication is at risk. We're cultivating a lifestyle where we only engage with what we find agreeable, avoiding anything that requires deeper reflection.
Which obstructs the path to shared wisdom. The surprising impact of technology is how it can erode fundamental communication skills.
And the letter emphasizes that truth is not something we discover in isolation, but is sought collaboratively through dialogue, conversation, and even respectful debate.
But this requires patience. quiet contemplation.
And a willingness to engage with a wide range of experiences. The sheer volume of readily available online information should not be mistaken for wisdom.
Wisdom isn't found in quick searches or unverified sources.
Exactly. The key insight is that wisdom requires a deeper engagement than simply gathering data. Our conversations can become superficial, merely accumulating facts without delving into meaning and purpose.
And freedom is often mistakenly equated with just navigating the internet.
Right. But building true fraternity, both locally and globally, demands open minds capable of authentic, meaningful encounters. The aha is that true freedom involves more than just digital access.
Okay, let's consider the intertwined issues of subjection and self-contempt.
The letter observes a tendency to present economically prosperous nations as the ideal cultural blueprint.
While simultaneously suggesting that less developed countries should follow their own unique paths, respecting their cultural heritage.
Right. The underlying tension is between the allure of external models and the importance of internal cultural integrity,
But there's often a subtle pressure to imitate, to adopt consumption patterns.
which can inadvertently foster a sense of inferiority and low self-esteem within nations that are striving to develop.
Even within less affluent countries, there can be a segment that looks down upon its own traditions.
Yes, believing them to be obstacles to progress. The surprising element is how readily internal cultural values can be dismissed in favor of external ones.
The letter astutely points out that undermining self-esteem can be a powerful tool for control.
Influential entities can exploit this lack of confidence through media and online platforms to promote a new cultural landscape that primarily benefits the elite.
And ignoring local cultural contexts often leads to ineffective development strategies.
Exactly. The key insight is the link between cultural self-respect and genuine progress.
Ultimately, the letter reminds us that the deepest form of alienation is feeling disconnected from one's roots, belonging nowhere.
A society can only truly flourish when it cultivates a strong sense of belonging, fosters connections, and actively works against indifference. The aha is recognizing belonging as a fundamental human need.
Despite all these significant challenges, the letter doesn't conclude with pessimism, does it?
No, it transitions towards hope. It acknowledges the dark clouds, but emphasizes that new avenues of hope remain open, that acts of goodness continue to occur.
Like during the pandemic.
Exactly. Despite its immense suffering, the pandemic highlighted the extraordinary bravery and selflessness of countless individuals who risked their own well-being to help others.
This unexpected surge of altruism offers a powerful counter-narrative to despair.
And this leads us to the essential idea of moving beyond ourselves. Love, the letter argues, is the fundamental force that creates genuine connections.
It expands our individual existence by drawing us out of self-absorption towards others. It speaks of the law of ecstasis.
Where the lover transcends their own boundaries to find a fuller existence in the one they love. The key takeaway is that true fulfillment lies in connection, not isolation.
This necessitates expanding our relational circles beyond our immediate family and close friends.
To embrace a wider network of human connection, the letter cautions against mistaking self-centered online interactions for genuine relationships.
Contrasting them with authentic love and friendship rooted in true openness.
Right. Closed-off groups and inward-focused relationships, it suggests, can often be expressions of underlying selfishness. The surprising element is how easily we can mistake superficial interactions for deep connections.
Historically, we see powerful examples of this outward orientation in hospitality traditions.
Yes, developed by desert communities and medieval monasteries, where welcoming outsiders was a core principle. Hospitality, in this broader sense, signifies an act of reaching beyond oneself.
The aha is recognizing hospitality as a proactive form of love.
The letter underscores the unique and indispensable value of love, or charity, as the guiding principle for all ethical behavior.
Habits that might appear virtuous, like self-control, need to be directed by this fundamental openness enabled by charity.
Without this underlying motivation of love, virtues can become superficial and ultimately incapable of sustaining a truly shared life. The key insight is that love is the essential foundation of all genuine virtue.
It's a powerful notion that even the temperance of a greedy person lacks true virtue without charity.
Ultimately, the letter asserts that our spiritual growth and our ultimate judgment will be measured by love. The aha is that love is not just a feeling, but a fundamental measure of our lives.
It's crucial to understand that this call to love isn't about imposing ideologies or violence.
Right. Absolutely not. Love takes precedence above all else, and the greatest failure is the failure to love. Drawing upon St. Thomas Aquinas, the letter describes love as a movement outward.
where we perceive the beloved as united to ourselves, with affection leading us to desire their well-being.
And charity, in this context, originates from a deep sense of esteem and valuing of others, making them truly dear to us.
Cultivating this way of relating is the very foundation upon which social friendship and universal fraternity can be built.
The key takeaway is that charity begins with recognizing the inherent worth of every individual.
Building upon this, the letter urges us towards a love that is ever more expansive, particularly reaching out to the marginalized, the hidden exiles.
Like individuals with disabilities and the elderly who may feel they don't truly belong, the core message is the need for radical inclusion.
It's not enough just to provide assistance.
No, the letter emphasizes the critical need for their active participation in society and for amplifying the voices of those facing discrimination.
It also cautions against a rigid universalism that seeks uniformity.
Yes, because that erases the valuable richness of individuals and diverse cultures. The aha is recognizing the value in difference and the danger of forced conformity.
The future, the letter reminds us, is not meant to be monochrome. We must learn to coexist harmoniously, embracing diversity.
Recognizing the unique contributions each person brings. The key takeaway is that unity thrives in diversity, not sameness.
This leads to the crucial distinction between relating as mere associates and embracing true neighborliness, like in the Good Samaritan parable.
Exactly. Contrasting the self-absorption of those who prioritize status with the selfless action of the Samaritan, an outsider who freely offered help.
The core message is the call to look beyond our immediate circles and obligations.
The letter prompts us to consider how this timeless story resonates today, where social groups often solidify around exclusive identities.
Such rigid structures can inadvertently prevent us from seeing and acting as a neighbor to those outside our group.
Reducing interactions to those with shared interests. The surprising insight is how our social structures can sometimes limit our capacity for compassion.
True equality, the letter argues, isn't just a declaration. It's the result of actively cultivating fraternity.
Seeing and treating each other as brothers and sisters, those who only engage as associates based on mutual benefit create closed-off worlds.
Leaving no space for those seeking a better life or needing help. The aha is that fraternity is the foundation of genuine equality.
In fact, the letter characterizes radical individualism as a subtle virus that deceives us into believing pursuing self-interest automatically serves the common good.
Genuine social friendship and universal fraternity require acknowledging the inherent worth of every single human being.
Regardless of their background or circumstances, the key takeaway is that individual gain alone cannot solve global challenges.
And the letter emphasizes that being born in a less developed place should never justify a life lived with less dignity.
The human person is inherently relational, called to transcend limitations through connection. The aha is recognizing our shared human nature transcends geographical boundaries.
The letter also cautions against misusing human rights, reducing them to purely individualistic claims detached from their social context.
Right. The core message is that rights and responsibilities are inextricably linked. Individual rights must be balanced and ordered towards the greater good.
To prevent conflict and violence, promoting the moral good involves helping individuals and societies mature in values.
It highlights concepts like agathosine, attachment to goodness for others, and benevolentia, willing the good of others. The key takeaway is the active pursuit of good for all.
We need to actively move beyond superficiality and moral decay.
Because when ethical foundations erode, only self-interested conflicts remain. Transmitting positive values is crucial to prevent selfishness and indifference.
The aha is understanding the fragility of social cohesion without a strong moral compass.
The letter places particular emphasis on solidarity as both a moral virtue and a crucial social attitude requiring intentional cultivation.
Starting within families, which play the foundational role in transmitting values of love, fraternity, and care.
The key insight is that solidarity is a learned behavior. Teachers and communicators also bear significant responsibility.
Solidarity gives rise to a sense of solidity, rooted in responsibility for others' vulnerability.
The surprising element is how interconnected our individual well-being is with the well-being of others. Solidarity finds concrete expression in service.
Actively caring for the vulnerable. True service, the letter emphasizes, is never abstract or ideological.
It involves looking into faces, reaching out physically, serving real people, not just ideas. The aha is that genuine service is deeply personal.
Re-envisioning the social role of property is another crucial aspect. The world exists for everyone due to our shared dignity.
Differences shouldn't justify unjust privileges. The core message is the universal destination of goods. The community has an obligation to ensure everyone has a dignified life.
The letter references early Christian thinkers on this. The aha is recognizing a collective responsibility for individual well-being.
Quoting early figures, lacking necessities means someone else is unjustly withholding them, and providing for the poor is giving them what's rightfully theirs.
This brings us back to love needing tangible expression, especially towards the less fortunate.
The key takeaway is the inherent right to basic necessities. The letter connects this universal destination of goods to the social function of private property.
Emphasizing its ordering towards the common good. The right to private property isn't absolute.
It's subordinate to the fundamental right to the common use of the Earth's resources. The aha is understanding private property has a social purpose.
This necessitates a globalized society actively helping the poor and ensuring equitable distribution.
Social friendship is a vital manifestation of this fraternity, characterized by genuine, freely given affection despite differences. The core message is true connection transcends mere tolerance.
True fraternity flourishes on generosity, while selfish goals destroy it. We need a culture of encounter to bridge divides.
Starting locally and expanding outwards. The aha is that generosity is the lifeblood of fraternity.
Social friendship requires reaching out to the marginalized, not just agreements between elites.
This connects directly to political charity, love for the common good, seeking the well-being of all in society. The key insight is that good governance is an expression of love.
Good politics builds strong communities to manage globalization's disruptive forces.
Social love is the driving force behind a civilization of love. Charity, coupled with truth, is the most effective means for genuine development for all. The aha is recognizing love as a powerful force for social change.
Social love renews structures from within, while charity is sometimes dismissed as sentimental.
The letter emphasizes its crucial role when grounded in truth. Charity, illuminated by truth, reason, and faith, transcends emotion and fosters universality.
Protecting it from narrow self-interest, the key takeaway is the essential partnership between love and truth.
Charity requires the light of truth, rational understanding, and spiritual insight without relativism while respecting science.
Good intentions aren't enough. Concrete efforts are essential. The aha is that good intentions must translate into meaningful action.
The conviction of shared humanity calls for universal fraternity, especially regarding basic human rights.
Rights are truly human only when they belong to everyone, everywhere. Political charity involves effective service to the people.
Recognizing their needs and acting out of genuine love. The key insight is the universality of human rights.
Politics aimed at the common good, beyond partisan interests, is an outstanding form of charity.
Politicians are called to attend to needs with strength, compassion, diligence, and generosity, combating the throwaway culture.
Upholding the dignity of every person, the aha, is that selfless political service is a high calling.
This includes effective solutions to exclusion, like trafficking and organized crime, using all resources.
It demands commitment to respecting others, embracing differences, prioritizing human dignity over ideology.
Especially amidst rising fundamentalist intolerance. The key takeaway is prioritizing human dignity above all else.
Hearing diverse voices is essential. Uniformity leads to decay. The letter echoes the call with Grand Imam Ahmad al-Tayyib for tolerance and ending bloodshed.
Strongly cautioning against policies sowing hatred between nations. The aha is recognizing strength in diversity and the danger of division.
True political leadership involves hoping in the unseen power of goodness and initiating processes for future generations.
Good politics blends love, hope, and trust in humanity's goodness. Authentic political life is constantly renewed by the energies of each person and generation.
Contrasting sharply with mere posturing and divisive media spin. The key takeaway is the long-term vision of good politics.
We should constantly reflect on our political aims and the legacy we want: love, progress, bonds, peace, tangible good.
The aha is focusing on the lasting impact of our actions.
The letter defines dialogue as a comprehensive process, approaching, speaking, listening, understanding, finding common ground.
Essential for genuine encounter and mutual support.
Very different from rapid, unreliable social media exchanges, often parallel monologues lacking engagement.
The constant information barrage can hinder true dialogue by reinforcing existing views. The surprising element is how much communication can impede understanding.
Unfortunately, it often feels easier to discredit opponents than engage respectfully. Aggressive political language has infiltrated daily conversation.
And discussion can be easily manipulated by special interests. The key insight is the need for intentionality in fostering genuine dialogue.
Authentic social dialogue requires genuine respect for others' viewpoints and acknowledging their legitimate convictions.
Consistency in thinking and defending values is beneficial, but only within genuine dialogue. The aha is that strong convictions need open-mindedness.
Dialogue helps grasp others' perspectives, allowing frankness while seeking connection and collaboration. Inclusive, transparent public discussion stimulates deeper truth.
Preventing complacency. The letter reminds us differences are creative. The key takeaway is the value of diverse perspectives.
In our globalized world, media can foster unity and inspire solidarity. The internet offers immense possibilities for encounter.
A gift, the letter says. But we must ensure technology guides towards generous interaction, truth, and service. The aha is recognizing the potential and responsibility in our communication tech.
The letter raises a fundamental question. What's the meaning of law without conviction in the sacredness of human life?
Society's future depends on respecting the objective truth of human dignity. Fundamental moral principles aren't just social consensus.
Like the wrongness of murder, it stems from a deeper understanding. The key insight is the foundational role of human dignity in a just society.
A noble society supports pursuing and adhering to fundamental truths. We must unmask truth manipulation.
Truth isn't just facts, it's seeking underlying principles for decisions and laws. The aha is that truth-seeking is an active responsibility. The letter highlights the mind's capacity to grasp unchanging universal values from our shared human nature.
Raising the critical question, could fundamental rights be denied by the powerful if people become apathetic?
Even consensus among nations can be manipulated. The key takeaway is the importance of vigilance in protecting fundamental values.
Recognizing humanity's capacity for good and evil, the letter suggests indifference often stems from sloth and pursuing higher values.
Relativism creates a dangerous opening for the powerful to impose their versions of truth. The aha is understanding the dangers of moral relativism. The letter reiterates that moral norms prohibiting intrinsically evil acts have no exceptions. In a pluralistic society, dialogue is essential for discerning what values should always be affirmed.
Transcending fleeting consensus. This requires clear thinking, rational arguments, diverse perspectives, and conviction that core truths exist. The key insight is the crucial role of reasoned dialogue in a diverse society.
Acknowledging enduring values provides the foundation for robust social ethics. Once adopted through dialogue, they become non-negotiable principles.
Though our understanding can evolve, the aha is that some values are foundational and non-negotiable.
Conscience, informed by reason and values, helps recognize and act against evil. Intellect can discern universal moral demands.
This foundation could suffice even for agnostics to establish stable ethics. The key takeaway is the universality of certain moral principles.
For believers, human nature created by God provides an even more solid foundation, without imposing rigidity, allowing room for dialogue. The aha is the compatibility of faith and reason in ethics,
The letter poignantly states that life is the art of encounter.
urging us to cultivate a culture of encounter that transcends differences, creating a multifaceted unity, like a polyhedron the whole, richer than the parts.
The core message is the transformative power of genuine human interaction.
This vision involves active coexistence, mutual learning, enrichment, even amidst disagreement. Everyone has something valuable to contribute.
Including those on the peripheries brings vital perspectives. The aha is recognizing the inherent worth and potential contribution of every individual.
Culture means deeply ingrained convictions and ways of life. A culture of encounter is a people's passion for meeting others, building bridges, planning inclusively.
It is a fundamental way of life. The key takeaway is that a culture of encounter is an active, intentional process.
The people themselves are the agents, not just elites pacifying the rest. True social peace isn't just absence of conflict,
But a dynamic process of encounter, integration, negotiation that values each person and fosters inclusion.
recognizing even the poorest have something essential to offer. The aha is that true peace is built through active inclusion and dialogue.
This doesn't mean ignoring demands or suppressing disturbances, but building a society accepting of differences.
The letter calls us to equip children with dialogue skills and champion this culture. The key insight is the importance of education in fostering encounter.
There's profound joy in acknowledging others' right to be themselves, even when different. This forms the basis of a social covenant.
Without this respect, subtle ways emerge to make others insignificant, leading to violence against those deemed different. The aha is the link between recognition of difference and social harmony.
The letter warns, when one segment exploits resources while ignoring the poor, consequences manifest in violence.
True liberty, equality, and fraternity must extend to all. Encounter must include the majority's diverse cultural expressions. The key takeaway is the interconnectedness of justice and peace.
Good ideas fail if presented in a foreign cultural garb. A realistic social covenant must be cultural too.
Respecting diverse worldviews, the aha is the importance of cultural sensitivity in social change.
Such a covenant requires renouncing some things for the common good, acknowledging no one holds the whole truth.
Calling for dialogic realism, faithful to principles while respecting others, enabled by love, trying to stand in others' shoes, the key takeaway is balancing conviction and compromise.
Finally, the letter emphasizes the urgent need for recovering kindness.
Consumerist individualism has bred injustice, viewing others as obstacles, increasing aggression, especially in crises. The core message is a call for intentional compassion.
The letter suggests consciously choosing kindness, a beacon in the darkness.
Kindness frees from cruelty, anxiety preventing care, frantic activity forgetting others' happiness. The aha is the transformative power of simple kindness.
In today's fast pace, we lack time for simple acts like, excuse me, thank you.
The letter highlights the miraculous impact of individuals showing genuine interest, offering encouragement. The key takeaway is the importance of intentional small acts of kindness.
Making daily effort to be kind creates a healthier social atmosphere, overcoming misunderstandings, preventing conflict.
Kindness isn't superficial. It's rooted in esteem and respect, transforming lifestyles and discussions. Ultimately, kindness facilitates consensus, opens paths where hostility burns bridges.
The aha is that kindness is foundational for a thriving society.
So as we conclude this deep dive, we've explored a range of interconnected ideas from Fratelli tutti.
We've examined the fragility of our interconnected world, the erosion of vital social bonds, and this powerful call to cultivate a more fraternal, compassionate, global community.
For me, some of the most striking insights were around the subtle ways language shapes understanding, the critical importance of remembering history.
The enduring relevance of the Good Samaritan's example in our complex world. Yeah.
Absolutely. And hopefully, for you, our listener, this has provided a valuable and efficient way to grasp some profound perspectives on the challenges and opportunities facing humanity today.
Offering food for thought without overwhelming you.
Which leads to a final reflection. In a world that often feels increasingly fragmented and saturated with digital noise, how can you consciously and actively cultivate the culture of encounter in your own daily life and within your community?
Or perhaps, considering the timeless call of the Good Samaritan, what unexpected roadside might you be called to pause at today? We encourage you to continue contemplating these important ideas.
Yeah, maybe delve further into the source material or explore related topics on your own.